Many people are blocked from going inward because they are too connected with the external world. And this external world can be society or religion or a certain group. And because they want to belong way too much, they repress themselves. And what happens is that as soon as they start going inward, they start to change, they immediately feel afraid, they feel frightened because their core need, belonging to a certain group, is going to be threatened. Because as soon as they change, as soon as they see different things within themselves that they cannot see in the other group members, they go into a freeze or a shock, and they tend to go back to safety because the core need again is belonging. And today I'm going to talk about how to overcome this social codependency, because belonging is a very necessary part of our lives and it's crucial. It's actually the opposition of what a psychopath is, who is antisocial. But the problem is that when you are too much on this side, that is not healthy either. You have to be in the middle. And it's exactly the same, one level below, because the social codependency is going to be on the head level, the primate level. One level below, we have the attachment, and this is where we have the general term for codependency, when someone is too codependent on the partner and they repress their core needs and desires, they repress themselves in order to pay all their attention on the partner. And the opposition of that is a hyper independent person who feels that I don't need the relationship. And again, the combination of the two is going to be the healthy one, that is not too codependent, not too independent. It's in the middle, and it's actually the combination of the two again, and it's interdependent. So as you can see, it's very important to be individual, and it doesn't mean that you would go against and completely forget society and you label them as bad. It means that you start to really find your own way, because having a Kundalini awakening, becoming yourself, it's actually, as you can even hear from the word, becoming yourself. It's not becoming the group, it's not becoming the couple, it's becoming yourself. And yourself is going to be individual. There will be some differences from the rest of the world, and we all have these parts that are completely different. And that's why following a group, following certain rules, can only help you about 50%. Even listening to videos from people who share their experiences, it can help you greatly, but only about, again, 50%, because the rest of it is going to be your path, your individual path, because you are the only one who can feel what is in you, what is your individual pain, what is your individual past lives that are actually your other versions, what is your individual true self. And in order to get there, you have to be able to push away these social things a little bit, so you can start thinking on your own and searching for yourself, searching for your own truth. So how to do this? The most important thing you have to understand is that many of the social rules or religious rules were created a long time ago. These are like collective beliefs that made perfect sense long time ago. But the problem is that we keep using them when they are obsolete. It's like you have a child, you have a baby, and on the baby you cannot put um adult size clothes because it just doesn't fit. So this is these old rules, because back then, like hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago. You have to understand that people were very different from us. They were a lot more backwards. They were more savages because for them that was normal. We are more calmer, sophisticated now, first of all, because we are not starving to death. You have to understand that they weren't bad people. They had serious issues we don't have to deal with. Just imagine being a female, giving birth to more than 10 kids and looking after them, and your everyday was a battle and starving and trying to find food, and a lot of people died. Their life was very, very difficult. So that's why they were more connected to this animalistic part, which is the reptile brain, because they were in constant survival. And when you are in constant survival, you are closer to these psychopathic traits, because your key thing every day again is to freaking survive. And because that part is so active, it makes the energy taken away from the attachment part and from the cognitive part. So the rules that were made sense, that were designed for that version of life, that okay, don't do this, don't do that, da 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 da. It's like having a little kid who always asks, why? And you cannot be rational with a child, with a 3-year-old child, because they just don't have this cognitive ability. It's like you can talk to them, but they are unable to understand it, because again, they don't have that part fully functioning. You cannot explain it to them that way. So many times parents end up saying, because otherwise you would die. That's what kind of they bring up, or they bring up some kind of a silly excuse that would satisfy the child and would actually make the child follow the rules, so the child would stay safe. And this is the same with these old social rules and old religious rules. But the problem is when you don't recognize that the child has grown up. So we should communicate with the child on the child's level, that maybe the child is an adult now, so we shouldn't talk to them exactly the same way that worked 10, 15, whatever years ago. And that's exactly the same with these social rules and religious rules, that we are not the same people. So you have to examine which ones are actually still, I would say, worthwhile to use, which ones should be kind of forgotten, and maybe the way they use is it just doesn't fit now, but it can be translated in a different way that would fit the modern era. It's like you don't try to squeeze an adult into baby shoes just because you have the baby shoes. You have to realize that the adult is going to require adult size clothes. And that's the same, that the beliefs that fit that era doesn't fit this time anymore. And this is what you have to examine, these old beliefs on your own, what makes sense and what doesn't. So you select it, because again, it's not all bad. It's just you have to reframe a few, you have to delete a few, and you have to keep a few. The second key thing you have to do is you have to create a boundary between you and others. And this is exactly the same what you do in a relationship as well, that you create a boundary with the partner in the relationship, what you allow and what you don't. And with society, it's very important, because unfortunately, when something is so rule-based, people tend to focus too much on the external world because they are detached from this internal part. And what it creates is that, because there is no boundary between the social structure and them, they tend to do the same with you as well, that they don't have a boundary. People are kind of enmeshed, that they focus on things that they really should not. So I can't say it nicer, everyone has to learn to mind their own fucking business. And this is what you have to keep in mind, that whatever happens between four walls, it's nobody's fucking business. What you are wearing is nobody's fucking business. If you don't hurt others, then it's again, nobody's fucking business what you do above that. There has to be a limit. And it comes to the same thing, that what your desires are, what your thoughts are, what you want to do at home. Unless you are hurting someone, that's a completely different story. So it's not about like you abuse others, but what you do on your home, in your home, that is your own business. And people really have to learn to pull back, because unfortunately in many societies people are overly focused: who does what, who wears what, who said what, who talked to what they might have been doing. And that is not healthy. You have to really recognize that. And another thing you have to be really, really aware of is that only the people who are unhealthy are going to judge you. A person who has gone through self-transformation is going to understand you, because that person has found the same deep parts as you will, or maybe you are finding now, because you have to understand that society repressed the exact same things in all of us. There will be differences because we didn't grow up in exactly the same society. So if you have grown up in China or India or Eastern Europe or the United States, that is going to be different, but there will be repressed parts. And also if you belong to a certain religion, that is going to make a difference. If you belong to, I don't know, the parents, another group like vegans or hippies or whatever, that is going to do certain differences. But you have to understand that generally the same parts are going to be repressed in all of us, because society represses these parts that, look, these are unacceptable. And when you go inward, you will find these things repressed to the very core, or to a very, very early stage, which means that, imagine a little child, a newborn baby, who can't do anything. A baby cannot talk. A baby cannot love you even yet, can smile, but doesn't even have the attachment part. And it's a very demanding, crying, shit crapping machine, basically, who smiles sometimes, but most of the time, if we are very realistic, a baby at that time is more annoying as a whole, if you take the 24 hours, than a joy. But at the end, that little joy is going to worth all that shitty part. And the baby is not going to stay that way. The baby is growing up, because we have the baby to grow up. And this is what you have to do with these repressed parts, that maybe in the beginning they look annoying, they are this, they are that. But if you keep repressing that part, it's going to be still within you. And it's going to actually dominate you even more, because it will come up. Just because you don't see it or you don't want to see it, it doesn't mean it's not there. And this is the problem with generally religion, and many times with spirituality as well, that they really put this idealized self as the goal, and they already declare that you are bad, you are a disgusting person or naughty person or whatever. We can help you, mate. We've got all the things you need. Join us, and we are going to cure this impure heart of yours. You don't have to do much. Just give us the money, and we are here to help you. And if you fail, that's your problem. It's not what we teach is wrong. It's like, you are just not good enough. And I don't want to be rude with religious practices, but if these scriptures are so working, why on earth everyone is fucking miserable and fighting? Please, someone tell me. So these are the things you have to really think about. And sometimes you have to be bitchy, like me. Ask really these questions, that if these are working, why everyone is the way they are. And it's so easy to point fingers on the individual that, oh, all of those people who are in prison are just terrible, and if they didn't exist, their life would be easier. Like, I'm really sorry. It's not just their fault, it's our fault as well. Why don't we have better systems that actually helps people in the very beginning so they wouldn't even end up in jail? It's like having all the doctors on the world to cure diseases instead of coming up with something that would prevent the disease even to happen. And one of the main reasons I believe many people are afraid of going on their own inward is that, but what if I make a mistake? Let me be honest with you. You are going to make lots and lots of mistakes. But as society did the same, just look back. People were absolutely fucking sure that there were witches and they were burning each other just because they had, okay, I don't have red hair, but like red hair. People swore that they saw people fucking the devil, like in with their own eyes, or turning a person into wolf, or meeting the wolf and the devil was the wolf. And they had these unbelievable ideas collectively. Like in the Middle Ages, we are now just like, are you serious? They were burying people alive, newborn girls, newborn babies alive, because they were 100% certain that if there was no blood, that wasn't a murder. So what they did, okay, there is no blood, bury babies alive, like dogs or something. Like, when you see these things, you have to really think now that if those people were 100% certain that that was the correct thing, and now hundreds of years later we look back and we see that, oh my god, these are complete nutheads, how can we be so sure that from 100 years from now, the people in the future won't look back to us and say, oh my god, the people in 2020, they were fucking nutheads. I can't believe they did these things. So this is what individuality really is, that you start to actually step away and you move away, because in reality, society can pull you forward, but because everything is a paradox, can actually pull you backwards as well, hold you back. And that's where you have to use your mind, your critical mind, to analyze certain things. And when you move inward, the good thing about it is that as soon as you get connected to your true self, you can actually get individual help. You can communicate with your true self, but you have to work through a lot of your traumas in order to get connected to and get actually direct information. You have to connect your nervous system to your brain. So instead of impulses only, you are going to hear words and you are going to hear sentences, and it's going to be helpful for you. And many of the things I actually share on this channel, and it's like, oh, where is it coming from? It's coming from a different reality, my dear. These are the things I channel, the deepest things, and they are actually the simplest, the most simple things that I share on this channel. They are not from my mind. They are not from books. I get them from another reality. And this is my goal, to help other people to do that, because I'm just one person. But just imagine thousands of people getting these deep truths that could help all of us. Just imagine the change that could happen. Because all the information I receive is never about punishment. It's actually to love each other, to see each other equally. So the information is helpful. The information helps to accept each other. And it's completely the opposite of our reality, where all the rules and all the help is about how to judge and hate a certain group and only accept a certain group who follows the rules. And after a while, you are going to see how unhealthy this is. I hope this video was helpful for you, and see you in my next video.